Chapter 1. The First Thread. The glow of the laptop screen carved harsh shadows across Liam Thorne's gaunt face, the only source of light in his basement apartment at 3:47 a.m. His fingers hovered motionlessly over the keyboard, cursor blinking like a mechanical heartbeat in the empty document. Another technical manual needed completion, another deadline breathing down his neck, but the words wouldn't come. They never came anymore. Sleep, his body begged. Just try to sleep. But sleep meant dreams, and dreams meant the twisted metal, the screaming brakes, the silence that followed. 3 years had passed since the accident, and still his mind replayed that night with perfect, torturous clarity. Sarah's laugh cut short, Mom's hand reaching toward him, Dad's eyes in the rearview mirror, wide with the understanding that came too late. Liam pushed the laptop away and stumbled to his kitchenette, stepping over empty takeout containers and unwashed clothes. The faint scar on his temple throbbed, a permanent reminder that he'd walked away when they couldn't. The refrigerator hummed its lonely song, nearly empty except for expired milk and leftover pizza that had seen better days. The scratching started again. It had been going on for weeks now, a subtle sound from somewhere in the walls. Mice, he told himself. Old building, poor maintenance, perfectly logical explanation. But tonight the sound seemed different, more deliberate, almost rhythmic, like something was building. Liam pressed his ear to the wall, listening. The scratching stopped. Great, he muttered, his voice hoarse from disuse. Now I'm scaring the rodents. He returned to his desk, determined to force out at least a paragraph about network security protocols. The cursor blinked mockingly. Outside, the city continued its restless dance, but down here in his concrete tomb, time moved differently, slower, heavier. A movement in his peripheral vision made him look up. There, in the corner where the ceiling met the wall, something glinted in the laptop's glow. A spider, no bigger than his thumbnail, suspended on an impossibly delicate strand of silk. Its body was deep black with strange, iridescent markings that seemed to shift in the light. Even you can't sleep, huh? Liam whispered. The spider began to descend, spinning out more silk as it moved. There was something hypnotic about its movement, something that made Liam's eyelids grow heavy for the first time in days. The creature swayed gently, like a pendulum marking time in this forgotten space. Without thinking, Liam extended his hand. The spider landed on his palm with the lightest touch, its legs barely registering against his skin. He brought it closer to his face, studying its unusual markings. The pattern seemed almost deliberately grafted, like intricate lacework or pain shot through his palm. Shit! Liam jerked his hand away, but the spider held on, its fangs buried deep in the soft flesh between his thumb and forefinger. He shook his hand violently, finally flinging the creature against the wall, where it landed with a wet splat. Blood welled from 2 tiny puncture wounds, but that wasn't what made Liam freeze. It was a sensation spreading up his arm. Not the burning agony he'd expected, but something else entirely. A creeping numbness that felt almost welcoming. The pain in his chest, the constant ache of guilt and grief that had become his unwelcome companion, began to fade. The harsh edges of his thoughts softened. For the first time in 3 years, the weight pressing down on his shoulders lifted slightly. This is how it feels, whispered a voice in his mind, his own voice, but somehow not quite. This is what peace tastes like. Liam staggered to the bathroom and ran cold water over the bite. The puncture marks were already beginning to swell, angry red welts surrounded by sparting bruises. But the numbness was spreading too, creeping up his arm like a gentle tide. He should go to the hospital. Spider bites could be serious, potentially fatal. But as he stared at his reflection in the cracked mirror, hollow eyes, stubbled cheeks, the ghost of who he used to be, he found himself hesitating. When was the last time he'd felt this? Quiet, the constant buzz of anxiety, the crushing weight of survivor's guilt, the endless loop of that night replaying in his head, all of it muted, as if someone had turned down the volume on his suffering. You don't have to hurt anymore, the voice whispered again. You don't have to carry this alone. Liam's rational mind screamed warnings. This wasn't normal. Spider venom didn't work like this, but his heart, his poor broken heart, yearned for more of this blessed numbness. He stumbled back to his desk, the laptop screen now seeming too bright, too harsh. The cursor still blinked in the empty document, but the deadline felt distant and unimportant. Everything felt distant now, as if he were watching his life through thick glass. The bite throbbed with a strange rhythm, almost like a second heartbeat. Each pulse sent another wave of that beautiful numbness through his system. His eyelids grew heavy, and for once the prospect of sleep didn't fill him with dread. As consciousness began to slip away, Liam thought he heard something, a soft, scratching sound from somewhere in the walls. For this time, it didn't sound random or rodent-like. It sounded purposeful, methodical, like something was building a web. His last coherent thought before the darkness claimed him was how good it felt to finally stop fighting. The bite pulsed again, and with it came a whisper that might have been the wind through his broken window, or might have been something else entirely. Soon, my lonely one, very soon, you'll never have to suffer again. The laptop screen flickered once, twice, then dimmed to black, leaving Lamb slumped over his desk in the consuming darkness of his basement tomb. In the corner where the spider had met its end, something glistened wetly on the wall. Not quite spider, not quite blood, but something altogether different. Something that pulsed with the same rhythm as the bite on his hand. Something that whispered promises of an end to all pain. Outside, the city slept, unaware that in a forgotten basement apartment, a lonely man had just taken the first step toward a fate worse than the death he had been courting for 3 long years. The web had begun.